My kids, their school has given them a Chromebook, and the books are there. Or they don't even use books. It's just the PowerPoints. They're like, well, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, where's your book? And they're like, we don't have one. And I'm like, well, how are you learning this? And their response is, oh, my teacher, she's just explaining it, and here's the PowerPoint.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, but where's the book? We need the example and the answer so then I can help you figure it out. And they're like, I don't have one. You can buy a $60 shirt or a $20 shirt and keep that $40 and buy you two more shirts. And now you have three versus one.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Like, I try to teach our kids that just because, like, what's the point? In a couple months, you're not going to fit in it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to teach them that, because social media, I think, has given rise to this false image of, money just comes easy. And you really don't need to work for it. And that's just not true.
Let it's priceless, take it to the moon. Priceless, one day will be soon. Like it's priceless.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Detox with Dr. Fam and Alex here.
Alex.
So, on our last episode, we kind of talked about kind of how the work culture and work-life balance has kind of shifted from kind of Gen X and below and before to kind of, the Gen Y, millennials and stuff. And so today, we wanted to pick up on kind of where we left off with social media. And so this, we'll start off with, how all this kind of came about was Alex and I read an article. It was in which state was it?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where they removed one of the school district removed all the mirrors because kids were going to the bathroom and then using the mirrors to do TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And when they did remove all the mirrors, what they noticed was, I think, the amount of restroom breaks they took prior to removal of the mirror was around 8 to 9. And then after that, it went down to like 3 and 4.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And so, we think technology has gone very fast and very far just in the last few years with Chat GPT, with AI, the future is here. I mean, if I told you guys this maybe even 5 years ago, I would be like, you're nuts. You remember Inspector Gadget?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, with his phone and stuff, and you're like, that's...
And then he
He had a walkie-talkie watch or
yeah.
something like that, and we were like, whoa. And, I mean, I think the Jetsons going to be next. I really do. I mean, I think it's crazy where the world has gone. But, today I think it's an interesting thing to talk about because social media, I think, and I have personal experience with it, is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything you post on social media, consider it permanent, like it's out there. And so, but I think social media has also contributed to an increase in anxiety, depression, you name it, like psychiatry or psychiatric disorder has just blown through the roof.
Yeah. And I think a lot has to do with people trying to keep up with the Jones, their neighbors, or what kids see that they post that their friends are having so much fun and they're buying all this stuff, but not everything that's on social media is real.
Oh yeah.
And then like the kids don't understand that it's not real.
It's not real. Yeah. I read somewhere that 90% of stuff posted on social media just did not exist.
Hmm.
Yeah. And, but what's crazy is it's come to a point where it's all about the likes
Yes.
and
And
the
the
views
follows.
and the follows.
Yeah, because my kids had a competition going on about how many followers could they get in a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
And I was like, what are y'all doing? And
exactly. And, now there are people who do social media for a living and, they get paid quite
mhm.
handsomely on Facebook, but I mean, I'm sorry, on YouTube. And I think Facebook have they started paying? I'm not sure.
I don't know about Facebook. I know like YouTube and TikTok, I think.
Started paying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Hmm.
Well, obviously we're not professional social media. We actually take the knife out and good old good old school suturing and fixing
Yeah.
stuff, like but the reason why we brought it up is you know, we both it's crazy. We're both actually reading the same article and just taking down the mirror decreased the restroom breaks.
Hmm.
But it's also led to, I think, where now people just can't socialize.
No, and I've seen this trend where young kids in their, early 20s, you see that they have a hard time just communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Just you and me having a conversation, they can't. And it's very sad that when you are texting or they're texting you, it's normal and everything's fine. But when you sit next to them to talk, like they are not, it's a totally different person.
Oh yeah, like I've interviewed candidates for my practice where their resume looks really good, and they're when I text them and stuff, it's very professional,
Hmm.
very nicely written. But then when you actually interview them in person, I like to interview just like with patients. I don't like to type notes when I'm in the patient's room.
Hmm.
I like to sit there and talk to the patient or talk to the parents and look them in the eyes, and because you can gather a lot of information
Yeah.
from there. And yes, it does take more time, but like for instance, I went to my primary care doctor a while back, and literally, I think I was sitting on the bed facing him, and I think he was facing the wall, like typing on his computer and asking me question. It felt like the Twilight Zone. It was so bizarre, but that's where we are now.
Hmm.
And and so it I'm actually afraid, like, these young kids are going to be taking care of us,
Yeah.
and they really don't know how to communicate. Like, there's
No.
just no bedside manners
No.
whatsoever.
And then take in consideration COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed a lot of nurses they were going to school, and then COVID happened. 2 years of shutdown. They were not able to either go to clinicals or everything was Zoom. So they have no social skills to go and ask a patient, is this your date of birth? Who is this? Who, is going to take care of you? Do reading the consent or whatever? And they don't know what to say. They don't know how to go up to a patient and ask them just simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that are going to take care of us. They're the young ones that are, coming out of school early 20s. They're going to be the ones taking care you know, of all of us.
Exactly. So I mean, I know you have kids, Alex. So, you know, what do you do to clamp down on this, and how do you educate your kids on what is safe method of social media and what is not, a safe use of social media? Maybe method's not the right word. Maybe the right use of social media.
So typically, we have more trouble with technology or social media with our youngest
Mm-hmm.
because he is on his phone
Mm-hmm.
or just watching YouTube, TikTok, games. So we try to limit his devices because it's really hard for him to do anything without having his phone, right?
Right.
Or the iPad or the computer, whatever it is. So he gets time limits, and we go over what is real and what is not real, and how a lot of people are just going to post only the good things.
Of course.
Nobody's going to post that they're having a hard time, that they're working extra hard so that they can get this, bag or car to try to keep up, with everybody else.
Right.
So that is one of the things that we always, bring up, that's not real, right? The other thing is during dinner, everybody puts their phone up. There's no reason for anybody to be on their phone because we're going to be talking.
Right.
We're going to talk about what happened in your day, how was school, what was, your favorite part of the day, who, is going on with who farted in class, something that, makes them want to talk. Because I remember when I was young, my mom would ask me, how was school? And I'm like, it was fine. So I asked my kids, what was the worst part of your day? Or what was the funniest part of your day? And that way I get them talking.
Mm-hmm.
And so to us, it's very important to try to eat together and have 0 devices.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing, for me during dinner time, I don't let my oldest, who's 9, watch the iPad during the weekday.
Mm-hmm.
My 4-year-old, she's only 4. They really don't have homework, and she, we're trying to slowly wean her off, but but I remember with Oliver, it was very tough to take the iPad away, which I did about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But then they got used to it, and it was like, and then now I also make him, if he does get the iPad, he needs to sit close to me or my wife so that we can actually monitor what he's actually watching. Yeah. And then these games that they interact with, like strangers online.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was like, once I started doing that, I was actually freaked out because I was like, who are you talking to? He's like, oh, just somebody online.
They're friends, but they've never met this person.
They never met this person. He's like, no, it's my friend. I go, well, is it your friend at school, or like what? Maybe our definition of friends is different. And so I had to put a clamp on it, and basically I didn't allow him to, like, he was playing what was that game called?
Roblox?
No. We let him play Roblox, but I severely restrict him communicating with other people. Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
That game is just way too violent for he was 8 at the time. Yeah, and and I'm not saying that he's gonna act out or anything like that, but I just don't remember, like, growing up. I mean, our violence was Super Mario Brothers, jumping on what are the Goombas?
The
Is that what they're called? The
I don't know,
Goomba?
the little turtles.
Not the little brown.
Oh, the little brown ones. I don't
Yeah,
know what
what are
they're
they called? Are
called.
they
I don't know.
Goombas? Well, but you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
like that was our form of violence. Was we jump on a Goomba?
I remember when I was growing up, Sega just came out.
Yeah,
So my violence was Sonic jumping on the other,
right. I remember.
I didn't have a Nintendo growing up. I had Sega.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember like Altered Beast, yeah, but I mean, my goodness, compared to what it is
No,
now.
nowadays is totally different.
Right. And then now with virtual reality and all that. And so like, I'm shocked. Like, I was watching him one day just to see. I mean, they literally can be in front of the iPad for 14 hours. I'm like, how do you even? I don't think I can sit there and watch TV for more than an hour.
Yeah. No, but we'll see it in the clinic when patients come. They're having issues with urinating because they'll hold it. They'll hold it
Yeah.
because they can't get off the iPad.
Mhm.
So then they go, pretty much all day and they'll get infections or whatever. It's because they can't go to the bathroom every 4 hours or when they feel like they need to go.
Right. Yep.
You know?
You're correct. When some of these what Alex is referring to, if people don't know, is sometimes kids come in with voiding dysfunction, and really it's behavioral because they're holding their urine, and the urine becomes stagnant, and then from there it can lead to infection, whatnot. But that's because they refuse to let
Put
go.
their phone or iPad.
Right. And I know with Oliver, anyways, when he would use the bathroom, he wouldn't even flush. So I was like, okay, we're putting an end to this.
No, I did the same thing. I had the same thing. I had the same problem with Spencer.
Yeah.
He wouldn't flush. And I said, okay, from now on, we're going to turn, if you can't flush, then you don't have privileges to a phone.
Exactly.
Because if you're able to function a phone, you should be able to flush.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, now don't get me wrong. I think technology and social media and the rise of AI, which is inevitable. I mean, it's going, it's going to happen. It's already happening.
Yeah.
The Samsung, I just got the Samsung Galaxy 24. Just to test it out. This is the one that they actually have. I guess they have their AI version in here. And I mean, it's pretty intense because I think, they use Android, so it's called Bixby. And it had an option for me to train it. And you know how, like, when you say, like, hey, Siri, whatever, Siri responds. Yeah, you can actually train it with your voice. And so when
I talk to you with your voice?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, literally, it would be, like I wouldn't find it surprising if a kid, because on here, it has something similar to Google Translate. And I wouldn't be surprised if I found a kid just talking to himself. Because I did that last night. It was kind of cool. So basically, it would, for those of you who aren't watching YouTube, basically, you would...
you can split the phone in half.
Yeah, you can split the phone in half. And let me just kind of show you. It's really neat. But I can see myself doing this, so I can only imagine the kids doing this. So I was bored yesterday, so I was like, you know what? Let me just talk to myself. So then I push this button. I go, "Hi, I'm Dr. Pham. How are you doing?" Can you hear that?
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Let's try it again. Let's see. Actually, let me put it in Vietnamese. Okay. Hi, I'm Dr. Pham. How are you doing?
Xin chào, tôi là bác sĩ Phan. Bạn khỏe không?
Tôi khỏe lắm. Nhưng mà bác sĩ có khỏe không?
I'm fine, but how is the doctor?
I'm doing very well. The insurance payment is not that great. And I've been seeing a lot of small penises.
Tôi đang làm rất tốt. Thanh toán bảo hiểm không phải là lớn. Và tôi đã thấy rất nhiều dương vật nhỏ.
The translation is spot on. So if someone is Vietnamese, the translation is spot on. Let's try the Spanish version.
Oh my gosh.
And I was literally playing around with this for
Talking to yourself.
just talking to myself. I don't need anyone now. It's like, hi, I'm Dr. Pham. How are you?
Hola, soy el Dr. Pham. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm doing well, but the insurance payment hasn't been that great, and I've been seeing a lot of small penises lately.
Estoy bien, pero el pago del seguro no ha sido tan bueno. Y he estado viendo muchos penes pequeños últimamente.
Yeah, it's spot on.
Is it spot on?
Yeah.
Well, who do they call when they have small penises?
Bueno, llaman cuando tienen penes pequeños.
Well, we all know who to call.
Oh my god. Penis king.
I literally was. I wasted a good 2 or 3 hours of my life yesterday just messing around with that. But in all honesty, that can become very helpful.
Yeah, especially like in clinic because we've had patients that we can't really communicate, because it's different language.
Right.
And you can definitely use that.
Right. I mean, technically we use the translation line, but just imagine you're at the airport or you find a lost kid or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically you can flip out your phone and use Google Translate, or you can use this. And so I think technology has its good and its bad.
Yeah.
In a way, this is a good technology because it can connect us, So now, before, where let's say I would travel to Mexico or anywhere where, now a lot of tourist area, they have English speaking, but even in Vietnam, but a lot of places that are fun may not have, and I think this would come in very handy.
Yeah.
And so, but social media has also led to an increase in psychiatric disorder. I mean, I think, especially, at the young ages, they're very impressionable.
Yeah.
And they think life is really just glamour and, so, now you have like stuff like OnlyFans and all this and
then like you don't have to work hard for your money.
Exactly. And then the real heroes really are like the police officers, the firemen, the armed forces, the doctors, the nurses, the surgical assistants, the scrub techs. Those are the real heroes. But people don't listen to them because they're just not cool on social media.
Yes.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I think society is just coming to a point. I think that we're probably not going to be as intelligent as we could be.
Yeah.
And the social skills, I'm afraid, is going away. And so, because I personally have interviewed patients where they can't even look at you. And I find it so surprising. Like they can't even answer a easy question as in what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of people, if you really think about it, like the hobbies are going away
Mm-hmm.
because instead of having, like, oh, my hobby is, mountain biking or running or whatever it is, crocheting. Everybody's hobby nowadays is just to scroll on social media.
Yeah, all day long.
So
And
instead of learning something useful or something fun that's gonna de-stress, everybody goes to social media
right,
and everybody is just scrolling, and just the thing is that they're comparing themselves to that other person.
right. Everyone's trying to keep up with the Jones,
Mhm.
and but it's hard for them to understand that that's not really the reality. It's, it could be they saved up for a whole month just to spend, which doesn't make any sense to me, just to go to the club and buy a bottle service
Mhm.
just so
Which is
that,
expensive,
right.
and then you
And
just spend it in a couple hours.
you just spend in a couple hours, but you've been working 2 or 3 weeks just to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just does not, that like I can't, to this day I still can't comprehend that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I haven't been to the club in a long time, but I can only imagine it's worse and worse, and it's just, I truly, technology, don't get me wrong, technology can be good. Like, for instance, this podcast, I think it's a good thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually something educational that's useful, whether it be when we talk about diseases or when we talk about topics such as this, you actually get something out of it
Mm-hmm.
versus when it's just about, how much chest can I show? How much, uh, weight can I lift? How much
Mm-hmm.
booty can I show? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
then it becomes meaningless. Like what do you actually get from that?
Yeah.
And so don't get me wrong. I think there are good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we just have to teach the kids. I mean, not just the kids. I mean, I've seen a lot of adults,
Adults, yeah.
yeah, that walk around just blindly on the street while you're
Mm-hmm.
while I'm driving. I always have to watch out for these
Yeah.
pedestrians that they're not even paying attention.
Yeah, they're walking, just looking down, looking at their phone.
Yeah, and then they have their earphones on so they can't
Yeah.
hear. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just nuts. And I just don't remember that. I
No.
remember, and I'm pretty sure you are the same thing. I remember going outside, playing in the neighborhood, you know.
Yeah, I remember when I was in, I believe it was 5th grade or 4th grade, when Mac came out with the monitor that was colored in the back,
Mhm.
the different colors. That's when I remember.
Which is worth a lot of money if you have that now.
Yeah, sadly, I don't have one.
You should have
But-
saved it. It would be worth a lot of
but
money.
I remember that's when like the computer started coming out. But I still remember like in junior high having to look in the encyclopedia to do my papers, my research,
Yeah.
like schoolwork and all that.
Right.
I had to do that. And I remember having to carry books and going to my locker, coming back, switching out books because my backpack was too heavy. I couldn't carry all my books. And I remember going home, going outside all day,
Yeah.
riding
Yeah,
my bike around the neighborhood, going to my cousin's house that was, a block away or down the street, and then just living outside.
Yeah.
And so now now you don't see that.
No.
Like my kids, their school has given them a Chromebook, and the books are there, or they don't even use books. It's just the PowerPoints, And so I'll ask, they're like, well, I don't know how to do this, And I'm like, where's your book? And they're like, we don't have one. And I'm like, well, how are you learning this? And their response is, oh, my teacher, she's just explaining it, and here's the PowerPoint.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, but where's the book? We need the example and the answer so then I can help you figure it out. And they're like, I don't have one.
Right. And it's just, you know, it, I mean, it's just, I see this every day. Kids coming in, especially like teenagers. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes that iPad comes in handy. Sometimes you
Oh,
just
yeah,
want
it
them to be
does.
like, shut up.
Yeah.
But, I see, like, I see a sense of respect has gone down.
Yes.
I remember there was a patient. I can't remember how old he was. Something like 14, 15, something along that line.
Mhm.
And he came in because of bedwetting. And so, I was talking to his mom, and so his mom kind of pointed to him and, kind of like, you're old enough, tell Dr. Pham exactly, like, which days do you wet? Are those the days that you drink a lot of fluids, or, like the typical
Mhm.
questions we ask. And I think his response to me was something along the line of like, uh, nah, bro, I don't wet every day. And I was like, huh? Now, thank God the mom corrected him and said, what did you just call Dr. Pham?
Mhm.
And he's like, bruh. And she's like, you better call Dr. Pham, Dr. Pham. And so kudos to that mom. But
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, before you call me bro, you need to be dry first. And then you can call me bro. But if you're coming in wet in your bed, like, the, like there's no more sense of authoritatiness out there
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, I think, we come to a point that, my goodness, it's it's just, it's gotten so bad that people have wrong expectation of how they're supposed to look like, how they're supposed to dress.
Mhm.
And then you have, you know, these kids that, I make it a habit not to buy my kids name brand stuff
Yeah.
because A, they grow out of it quickly.
Mhm.
And then B, who cares?
Yeah. And then and your kids are little, and they're just gonna go get it dirty, stain it,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's it.
Yeah.
And then like my kids, like we do the same thing. We don't go out of our way to spend $60 on a shirt
Yeah.
when you can buy one for 20.
Exactly.
And we try to teach them, like you can buy a $60 shirt or a $20 shirt, or you can and keep that $40 and buy you two more shirts, and now you have three versus one.
Right.
So it's the same thing. Like I try to teach our kids that,
Mm-hmm.
just because like what's the point? You're in a couple months you're not going to fit in it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to, and I want to teach them that, because social media, I think, has given rise to this false image of, money just comes easy
Mm-hmm.
and you really don't need to work for it. And that's just not true.
No. Like we work hard for our money. You work hard, I work hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember one time we went and bought groceries, right? And it's 6 of us in the house at the time. Our 4 boys, 2 of them are eating like grown men. And we went and spent a little over $300 on groceries. And we came home, we put the groceries up. Our oldest at the time was about 19 or so. And he was like, can we just go out and eat? And we were like, no, we just bought $300 worth of groceries. And he was like, yeah, like, that's normal. And we were like, Ooh, I was about to slap somebody. I was like, what do you mean that you know how hard we've worked to be able to buy $300 worth of groceries?
Exactly.
And we were just like, what? And now, okay, now he's out on his own. And he's like, yeah, we're just trying to spend, the less we can on groceries, $70. What are you buying with? Now you're like, what are you buying with that? You know? So now he sees that it's hard. It's hard work earning your money.
Right.
And it's not as easy as you think it is.
Exactly. And I think unless something is done, it's just gonna get worse. So, back to that mirror, I think that was a good first step.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the advent of AI, we're just gonna see, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're just gonna see a bunch of mindless zombies just walking around with a virtual headset or whatnot, and then
And it's really sad because we see it coming.
Yeah, we see it coming.
Yeah.
And
is it the new Apple headset that you can wear it and still see regular, like through it?
I'm not sure.
Or is it the new Oculus?
I'm not sure.
Because you know how you can wear the Oculus and you really don't see people in front of you, right, or around you. I think it's either the new Oculus or the Apple headset that you can put on, do all the electronic stuff, but you can also hit a button and it makes it clear. You can see like regular.
But why? Why are you walking around the city with a astronaut looking like thing?
I think it's Apple.
It probably is. It's probably Apple. But I've seen it. It's hideous. It's Apple. Yeah, it's Apple. I mean, that is hideous. I mean, for those who can see it. I mean,
just went away.
Come on. Oh, it just went away.
But yeah, like I don't.
I mean,
you're watching YouTube as you're walking.
Yeah, I mean, like now, yeah, like this. Like, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Now, if you're walking around watching Detox with Dr. Pham, that's okay.
That's a different story.
That's a different story. You're educating yourself. But if you're walking around watching, some mindless, whatever, then it's kind of like, I don't get it, And so it's just
like there's a point where like I understand, yes, technology is necessary, and it's made our life easier. Like just think about it, 25 years ago, you had to print out a map. You had a map that you got at the gas station and you had to unfold it, find where you were to get to another city. Mm-hmm. Right? Now you just get on your phone. You're like, okay, the GPS says take a right in 10 feet, 100 feet.
Right.
And it makes it super easy. And yes, it's very convenient. But at the same time, if we go, there's like a medium, right? There's a balance of going overboard with technology and social media. So we have to find that balance. To me, it's important. And that's why I try to limit my kids on technology itself.
Right.
Because I also want them to be able, which I haven't showed them, but I want them to be able to pick up a map and be like, okay, this is where we are and this is where we have to get. Like, what happens if, electricity or whatever gets blown out? Like, everything is on our phones nowadays.
Right.
Like, I only know maybe 2 phone numbers.
Exactly.
And that's it.
No, it's true. I don't even know my wife's phone number, And so I think the point of this episode is to bring to light that social media is not a bad thing. it can be used for good because it is a good source of dissemination of information. Now, how good is that information? Well, that's a different
That's a
story.
yeah.
That's a different topic for another day. But on the flip side, social media is also deteriorating the family value, the family unit,
Yeah.
and it's really sad to see because you and I grew up in an era where we went outside, we played with the neighbors, we knew each other. We, if one day I didn't see you outside, I would be like, "Whoa, what happened to Alex?"
Yeah, what's wrong?
Yeah. Versus now, it's kind of like a kid could disappear and nobody would know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, our point here, and tell me if you disagree. It's not that social media is bad. I think it just we need to understand how to use it and how to limit what bad content is.
Mm-hmm.
Like detox is a good content. Well, I mean, in all seriousness,
Yeah.
yeah,
because it is educational.
it
You're
is
not
educational.
you're not watching a video of a 7-year-old opening a box of Legos.
Correct. Yeah, I'm watching like a lot of these. To your point,
Yeah.
I was watching a lot of these videos because I wanted to make sure that they weren't, Oliver and Avery weren't watching something they shouldn't be watching, even with kids control and all that.
Yeah, because somehow they can still get
Yeah,
the content still pops up,
somehow it does.
Mm-hmm.
But what I notice is some of the stuff they're watching is like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
It's mindless.
Yeah,
You're not thinking at all.
yeah. And I'll leave with this, what was that singer that died recently from Lincoln Park?
Chester.
Was that him? The
Yeah,
one
Chester
that
Bennington.
yeah,
something
the
like that.
one that sang,
Mhm.
what did he sing?
In the end,
yeah,
nothing really matters.
yeah,
or
in the
something.
end, nothing really matters. And so it's kind of like, what we're trying to get at is, forget about all these name brand, forget about all these, all these things that you see on social media. It's just not real. And the sad part is, he's right. In the end, nothing really matters.
Mhm.
Yeah, what matters is what social media is destroying, which is family values, respectfulness,
Work
ethics,
ethics.
yeah, morality. I mean, all of that just seems like it's gone out the window.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad to see that, in the coming years, I don't think it's going to get better. If anything, I think it's going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so, and even with medical content, there's so many, like I was watching, and there's so many medical content that was just not true.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've seen some on TikTok, and I'll look at it. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor, but some things like I've learned from you and other doctors that I've worked with, and I'll be listening to things, and I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah.
And I'll show Aaron, and I'm like, look, this is what he's saying, but this is not true because of this and this, and I'll explain it to her, and she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if it's a regular person that has no medical background, they're gonna believe that person.
They're gonna believe it, and then they're going to do it. And a perfect example is this. I think a few years ago, maybe in the back, if you guys can look it up, there was a French billionaire that, I don't know if he listened to one of these shows or not, but there's really no durable way to enlarge a penis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I think in episode 2, I talked about the difference between penis enlargement and penis elongation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's really no medical benefit to a penis enlargement except purely cosmetic.
Mm-hmm.
Versus penis elongation, there's medical benefit to it if you have like buried penis or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, the French billionaire. Actually, here we got it right here. I can look it up real quick. Did you find it? Yeah. So this is it right here. Yeah, billionaire diamond trader Ehud Eryelaniad basically had a PE.
A pulmonary embolism.
Yeah, died of a heart attack while he was undergoing a penis enlargement procedure. Thank you. Yeah, and remember in episode 2, I talked about the difference because people sometimes use the term.
Mhm.
Now you are a medical professional, so don't say you're not. But like on TikTok, there's shows, not just TikTok, everywhere.
Mhm.
There's shows that talk about these durable penis enlargement, and I can tell you there is no durable penis enlargement. And this French diamond trader billionaire guy died because he wanted a penis enlargement. Ended up, they were injecting fat, and what you end up getting is a lumpy penis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember a guy that went to Mexico and had, because he couldn't find someone here that he could trust that would do a penis enlargement, which, now there is a silicone sheath, but there's still a lot of issues with that needs to be resolved,
Yeah.
but called pneuma. But other than that, there's really no acceptable form of penis enlargement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but people who are not in the medical profession, they just trust whoever has the most views or the most like, and they equate that to, to penis.
Facts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to the facts.
Yeah.
And so this guy, I literally asked him because he had silicone injected.
Mhm.
And so I had to go in and try to clean out all the silicone. He ended up with skin graft, and skin graft is like my last go-to because there was just no viable skin.
Mhm.
There was just no way for me to get the silicone out without
Taking
know,
part of the skin.
yeah, without taking part of the skin. I mean, it was a disaster. But I asked him, I said, where did you even get this information that it was a good idea to, and he's an executive of a big company. And so, so he's not, like, stupid.
Mhm.
And he said, well, I kind of watched the show, and it sounded good, and there was a lot of testimonials. Well, you can make up as much testimonials as you want. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. And so basically, I had to explain to him that, what I'm about to tell him, he's not going to like. However, the reason why he came to me in the first place is he got infected.
Mhm.
And so with an infection, that can spread rapidly and kill you. And so he ended up with, I mean, to this day, I'm pretty sure he, I discharged him from follow-up because there was nothing more that,
You could do.
yeah, that needed to be done. But, plastic surgery ended up, just grafting the skin. So now he has like a two-tone penis, two-tone is really meant for a Rolex, not penis, And, but that's the troublesome thing is, to the lay person, when they watch a medical show,
Mhm.
they don't know is what they're saying really true.
Mhm.
And and now with the advent of chat GPT, I mean, there's going to be a lot of plagiarism, there's going to be a lot of made up stuff, because keep in mind the core of AI is still the machine learning portion.
Yeah.
And the machine learning portion is what you feed it. And so I guess all I'm saying is you have to be careful when you know, well, never self-diagnose.
Correct.
Yeah, that's one thing. So I forgot to mention that disclaimer earlier in the show, but whatever we say on here is really our opinion. Never self-diagnose. You know, if you feel like you have some of these symptoms, then I think you should go see the proper professional,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be a urologist or cardiologist, whatever. And then there's tests that can be done to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who kind of just jump the gun and
According to what video they saw
yeah,
online.
according to what video they saw online.
Mhm.
And and so, but back to that executive, I asked him, I said, why? He said, well, he had a lot of likes. And I'm like, so you're making the decision on how many thumbs up they gave?
Mhm.
Like, that was so bizarre to me.
Mhm.
And so I guess all I'm saying is, whenever you watch a medical show, like, I'm not talking about like Grey's Anatomy where we know it's fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever, remember, everybody is always out there to try to make a dollar.
Yeah.
And when you watch these shows, you really need to be careful what you're actually watching. And if you decide to do what you're going to do, then you need to really
Do your research.
do your research. And the
Yeah.
easiest thing to do is get multiple opinions.
Correct.
I'm a big
And-
believer in second opinion,
Opinions.
third
Mhm.
opinion, fifth opinion, sixth opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Also, you have to make sure that they're board certified in that field.
Right.
Because if you see somebody giving a lot of urological advice, but yeah, they're a doctor, but they're a family medicine doctor. I mean, not that I don't trust that person, but that's not their specialty.
Right. That brings up a very good point.
Because a lot of people do have MD or some sort of doctorate behind their name, but it doesn't mean that that's necessarily what they went to school for.
That is a very
know?
good point, Alex. That's right. That's a very good point that Alex brought up because, there's a guy on TikTok. I think it was on TikTok. Yeah. And he would talk a lot about penis surgery. But when I looked it up, he was actually like a medicine, family practice. Family
medicine.
practice doctor or something.
Yeah.
But, he would be in scrubs and everything. And, but people just see the MD and they think that,
that's their specialty. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're right. That actually is a very important thing and it's not hard, no matter which doctor you go to, you can actually Google them
Mm-hmm.
and it will show you what license they have in that state, and it will tell you what they are actually boarded in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you also see like, plastic surgery is a big deal too, right? And you'll see a billboard that says cosmetic surgeon. But in reality, there's no cosmetic surgery. It's either plastic surgery or that's it. So, like, if that doctor is board certified in plastic surgery, it's going to say plastic surgery.
Right.
It's not going to say cosmetic surgery.
Right.
So that's another thing. I mean, and that just goes for any type of doctor. Like, everybody should, do their research and make sure that they're not going to see somebody that's boarded in something else.
Right. No, that I totally agree. And I think a lot of people have been hurt by that's really, I don't know if it's illegal, but I do think it's false advertising.
Yes.
But it may not be illegal, but is it ethical?
Correct.
Yeah. And sometimes, people chase the money and then they're blinded by the money. and then they end up doing things that you end up doing more harm to the patients. So, and that was one of the, because Alex my co-host now, but before Alex was my co-host, there were episodes that I made, and the very first episode, and I'll leave with this, after this, and you can leave your final thoughts too, Alex. But the purpose of my show is to really just educate the public about urology and men's health. And then it morphed into also women's health, because we deal with that, and children's health and stuff like that. But the goal wasn't for me to like go into details of the diagnosis and the treatment and all that. The goal is to give a general overview so that you know enough to seek help.
Correct.
And I would say a perfect example would be this. Like, one time I gave a lecture on the different penis disorder. And there's a lot of penile disorder. And you see this in the clinic all the time, where they just put circumcision because they really don't know why they're here. They just know that the penis doesn't look right. And so, then they come see me, but since they don't know what it is, they're just going to put circumcision. And so, but then once they come, and then I kind of educate them about it, And so, but that just tells you, like, when I was asked to give a lecture once, and literally what I did was, I know people think penis just a stick, but it's not. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah. And I remember I gave the lecture, and I showed like 20 pictures of just normal penis. And then basically any penis, as a joke, I said, kind of jokingly, I said, if you see any of these, then it's okay to circumcise them. If you don't, then send them to a specialist. It's not worth it, because it's all about the skin in terms of, correcting the penis and all that. And so that's my kind of final thoughts on this, is that, social media has given rise to a lot of false information that can end up really hurting the patients. And I think, it's always a good idea to get second opinion, third opinion. And it's not hard to do a background check on your doctor. Just see, what is he board certified in? Where did he go to school? Those aren't hard. And if you're lazy enough where you're not going to look that up to go under the knife, well, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you're about to go under the knife, and I'm pretty sure it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, And so I think, from my perspective, second opinion, third opinion, I know some doctors get offended if you get a second opinion.
Oh, yeah.
You've been with me, Alex. I don't get offended when people go. I encourage them to go for other opinions.
Correct,
Yeah. And and so I'm a big believer in, I don't get upset if you go seek another opinion, because and likewise, when patients come see me for a second opinion, I don't ask them what the other doctor says, because I could care less. Because if the other surgeon said what you wanted to hear, or you felt comfortable, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I think, there's a lot of podcasts popping up and all that, especially with medical. There's a huge rise in medical thing now. That's why Apple, Samsung, and all that, everyone's on the race for, using AI to try to advanced medicine, which I think is a good thing, but you got to do it in the
Yeah.
right way.
You know something I read? I just thought about this. There was a magazine and I was reading it and it was talking about having an AI therapist. Like instead of going to see somebody and talking to them and feedback and this and that, you can actually an AI therapist and it'll ask you how are you feeling, blah blah blah, just like a real therapist would too. And that's something that's about to come out or something like that.
Well, that brings up remember we talked about this. There was a company that was going to come out with an AI generated boyfriend or girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
That is how bad. If y'all don't believe me, you guys should look it up. That is how bad it has gotten. Where basically now you're not even really dating a
No.
human.
Yeah.
You're dating an AI generated. I don't even know what to call it. Character because it's not a person.
No.
Yeah, and people actually will pay money to sit there and talk to
a robot.
a robot. Yeah, like it's unbelievable. And I think I don't know what the right answer is. You know what I mean? Like I think we're definitely in uncharted territory.
Yes.
And one of the things that we hope to accomplish with this show is to try to debunk a lot of myths, and so with our next episode we're gonna go back to some more medical show, kind of medical episodes, but in between I do like to kind of talk about contemporary things that are going on that really
that are important,
and so any final words, Alex?
Just do your research. Don't just trust, like Dr. Pham said, your first opinion, especially if you don't feel comfortable, because there's something in your gut that tells you, I don't really know. Just do your research. Get, a second and third opinion. Always educate yourself.
Exactly.
Always educate yourself. That's a big thing.
And don't worry about what people drive or wear on Instagram or whatever. It's interesting. When I bought my Lamborghini back in 2016, I was talking to a dealership that I bought it from up in Chicago. And, interestingly, he told me that 90% of people who quote unquote buy these Lamborghinis, they're actually just leasing it, but they're living like in an apartment. Like that.
Because they just want to show that they have a cool car.
Right. But it's like that makes zero sense to me.
Like you don't have a house or somewhere to, call home, not an apartment, but you have a really, really nice car.
Right. And so and I think social media has given rise to poor financial decision making because everybody is trying to chase to be like the Jones. And I can promise you that all of us will return to dust someday. And nobody will remember you because you drove that nice car or you had that nice pair of shoes. But they will remember you for being a good person, having good values, helping people that need help, doing honest things. And I think that people will remember you for that, and so I this is my quote, and I always, I live by it because, and I'll leave with this. I live by this quote, which is always be remembered for what you did and not what you have. Because I can promise you, like one of my mentors said, if you're lucky enough to not die suddenly, no one has ever laid on their deathbed and wished that they would have bought that extra car or, you know, did that extra hour so that they can buy something.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you they would be like, gosh, I wish I would have manned the relationship with my mom, my dad, my sister, whatever it may be, you know? And so for me, you know, I try to surround myself with good people that, you know, now, don't get me wrong. If you like name brand things, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, especially if you have the means to buy
Right.
it. But if it's somebody that is working, you know, or living paycheck to paycheck that is
Right.
not able to buy, you know, something expensive, name brand, then no, don't buy it because you need to, you know, make smart financial decisions. But if you have the means to buy, you know, a nice pair of shoes or whatever it is, then go ahead.
Yeah,
You know?
you can treat yourself. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. So I don't want people to get the wrong impression. What we're telling you is don't go buy nice stuff. That's totally not what we're saying at all. What I think what Alex and I are trying to convey is that if you work hard and you make an honest living, if you happen to save up and have an extra bit because you want to buy that nice purse you've always wanted or a nice jacket that you always wanted, there's totally nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just make sure that you prioritize what is more important, which is your health, your family, your children, your parents, whatever it may be, you know? And then after that, then if you feel like, you know, you want to splurge a little bit, there's nothing wrong with that, you know?
No, as long as you're responsible and you're taking care of everything else, and then you have extra, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I really want those nice pair of shoes. Let me go get them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, you know?
The
And so-
problem becomes when you're trying to keep up with somebody else.
Right,
That's when the issues start happening, you know?
right.
Because you can be like, well, yeah, we have food for this week, but I really just want those, you know, those Jordans. Those
Right.
just came out. So instead of having money for groceries, I'm going to go spend that money on shoes.
Right.
See, that's where the issues come in.
Exactly. And so I'll leave with this story. You know, recently my wife threw me a birthday party. She knows I don't like birthdays, you know, because I just feel like it's 1 year closer to death. And then, you know, now you understand why I don't like birthdays. You know, I never got my own birthday.
Yeah, but you can't tell Avery it's
I
1
know.
year closer
I
to
know.
death.
I know. I don't. But so anyway, so she, you know, she invited just very close friends, which is basically boils down to like my partner and, you know, and Joe and stuff like that. And so, you know, I just happened while we were just waiting to get seated or whatever, you know, I just happened to saw this one girl who had a really nice looking dress. Like I could tell it's probably expensive, you know. But the tag was hanging out. And so her friend was trying to tuck that tag back in. And I was like, did I just see what you know?
Did you go over there and be like, I'm sorry, you still have the tag on, and did you rip it off?
No. Well, it happened to be that my wife also saw it. And she was just like, yeah, that's just what people do.
Normal, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just why? Why? And then what if you accidentally get some red wine on it? You can't return it.
No.
And then now you're out. I don't know however much that dress cost. But, you know, I don't know. That's to me, that was just, well, I think it's wrong in a way, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Yeah, but it's just, but that's how,
That's where we're coming to.
yeah, that's where we're coming
Yeah,
to.
because really you can't afford it, but you want to be like your friend over here,
Correct.
you know? See, and that's where issues start happening, right?
Exactly.
And then you get depressed and you're anxious because you're going to spill something on the dress. And then you're sad because you're trying to be like your friend and they probably, I don't know, inherit some money and yeah, they work, but not that much and you're killing yourself trying to work to have enough money to go out.
Right. And on top of that, you really don't know if your friend really has all that
Yeah.
money that he or she says they have.
Yeah. I mean, they could just be putting everything on a credit card. And then there's all that debt.
You know, I'm telling you, there was a survey I saw recently that said the majority of Americans can handle like a emergency,
Mm-hmm.
like a $3,000 emergency or something
Mhm.
along that line. And I was like so shocked,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's like, you know, we, you know, I mean, as consumers, we need to spend in order for the world to go around,
Yeah.
you know, but it's just shocking that people are actually having to dip into savings and all that.
Mhm.
Now, if you dip into savings because you need to put food on the table, that's something
Yeah.
totally different.
Mhm.
That's not, those aren't the people we're referring to.
No,
Yeah.
dipping into savings to buy things that unnecessary things.
Right. Unnecessary things just so that you can
Look cool.
look cool and do it for the gram.
Yeah.
You know, so but anyways, thanks for listening. And you know, we got a lot of new exciting stuff, especially medical stuff. I know. So next time, I think we'll be talking a little bit about cancer, urologic cancer. And so in the meantime, you know, subscribe, listen, let us know, give us some feedback, and if there's any topic that anybody wants to hear, you know, just respond to it. The producer will let us know, and then we'll, if we don't know enough about it, we'll bring on someone who does. If we know enough about it, then we'll definitely, you know, do that show. So once again, thank you for tuning in. You know, there's no really medical advice on this one, but if there was, then, you know, it is purely my opinion and Alex's opinion. Get it checked out by your doctor. Do not use this show as a way to diagnose and treat yourself. Okay. And the key is to treat yourself. Okay. And so, you know, what I don't want is, you know, you go to another urologist, you're like, well, I watched this show, Detox with Dr. Pham, and he said it was this. And so, okay, so no, don't do that. No, don't use this show as a replacement for a real doctor, especially an AI generated doctor. So anyways, thank you again for watching. And this is Dr. Dung Pham and Alex signing off. And until next time.
We gon' do it like it's priceless. Take it to the moon. Priceless, one day will be soon. Like it's priceless.